Hey everybody, welcome to TechKnow Tuesday, the podcast where we talk about technical stuff and FTC, sometimes if we're lucky.
I've got
Phil.
FTC.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Kendrick.
So Kendrick,
With
do you have a
FTC
topic
stuff.
today?
Yes.
What's your topic?
I actually have a few. So I was browsing the forums and the Reddits. One of the interesting questions that I found that is still coming up, like recently, there are teams wanting to launch pieces of their robots.
My.
I can't believe that this is still a thing that is being asked.
Everyone should just post. Read rule C29 or whatever it is.
That and it's
What?
There's
People
so
say,
many
what
on the
is- what is
forums,
defined
too.
By launching, you know, it's like
yeah.
yeah.
It's like they're wanting to
It's
throw
not a
hooks up
trivial
over and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Another thing, Phil, you've done some experimenting with some encoders on some AndyMark motors.
Okay.
I
Is
noticed
this
that.
coming up somewhere other than my
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah, it was a pretty big post on the subreddit.
Yes.
Bonus.
Andy Mark saying to me, we don't seem to have we can't see this happening anywhere.
Oh, Kendrick, you know what you should do? You should put a video up here somewhere of that happening.
Wait, yeah, I have a video. Wait, just right here.
Right there.
Right
of
there?
the end of the motor going whoop, whoop,
And
whoop.
while we're on that, me and Phil both have a wonderful choice of colors. We both decided to wear green today, not realizing about the green screen.
So maybe the video will be here.
Yeah, maybe you'll be right here.
Wait, let's make Kevin transparent. Bloop, there he
I
is.
mean,
He's
I
transparent.
think my shirt's like,
It's
bright
probably
enough,
enough of a
but-
color difference.
but we'll see.
Kevin's wearing his
Navy camp.
Bahrain Yokosuka shirt from the
Navy camp.
camp that we did here
Yeah.
this summer. That was pretty sweet.
So speaking of tangents,
Tangents.
the
Cosines?
the motor.
So
what's
tell me
what's
about
the
the
deal?
motors,
What's
yeah.
the deal with the motor?
Well, what are people saying online? What are they saying?
Well, they haven't said anything other than it causes the motor to stop working with the move with encoders command. Other than that, they say it should
When
be
they
fine.
Say stop working. What do they mean? They say.
They just say stop working.
Okay. People are so imprecise.
And then there were some.
So here's the deal. Here's what we've found out. And, shoot me down in flames if you don't like this answer, but this is what's happening. Trust me, it'll be discovered. Okay, so I've seen it now on three motors here. One on your robot, two on our robot, and someone else has already posted about it before I even posted about it. But what's happening is, the symptom is that if you're cruising along in either run using encoders or run to position, both of which use the encoders to control the speed of the motor, what seems to be happening initially is that one motor is running too slow. But what's actually happening is one motor is running too fast. So that's kind of counterintuitive because usually you think if something wears out, it goes slow. What's happening is that under certain circumstances, the encoder on the motor is not giving out enough pulses. And so what's happening is the motor control is seeing this. They go, oh, we must give more power to give more pulses. And so they increase the power of the motor, which speeds it up. Typically, you see this. Okay, not typically. There's a condition that you see this on. If the motor is under load, it has to be under load. If you just lift it off the ground, it doesn't do it.
Right.
It's under load, and it's only running in one direction. And it may be forward or may be backwards, just depending on how it's mounted on your robot. But here's what's happening.
Sounds like a conical gear problem.
Yes, exactly. It's a conical gear problem. Initially, I thought it was magnetic field related, but it's a conical gear. So what's happening is after a while on some of the AndyMark motors, the Neverest motors, it appears that something's coming loose inside and you get slop on the drive shaft. So instead of the drive shaft being really snug, it can move back and forth by maybe 1/16 of an inch or 3/32 of an inch. And what happens is that if you push the little pinion gear, if you take the gearbox off and push the pinion gear in, you will see it actually move in a certain amount. And what's happening on the other end is where there's a little magnet on the end of the shaft at the other end. And what that magnet is doing, it's moving away from the Hall effect sensors that are sensing its rotation. So with the helical gear, when the motor spins one way and it's under load, the helix pushes the motor into the housing, pushes the shaft into the housing, which moves the magnet on the encoders away from the Hall effect sensors, which apparently causes them to lose track of, they don't see the pulses, they don't see the north-south transitions.
Right.
So what's happening is no pulses or less pulses, and everything all of a sudden speeds up. Typically where you'll see this is you'll be trying to back up the mountain really slow with a fixed control speed. We have a button that puts both motors in 10% speed mode. hit that button, and instead of going up the hill, one of the motors just starts spinning really fast.
We've had that happen too on one of ours when we're trying to get up the mountain.
Exactly.
Too. One just takes off, and we thought it was one going slow.
That's right, because that's what normally would happen when something gets old, but it's the opposite.
Huh.
But you can only see it if you go slowly.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just I didn't think of it.
Yeah. So what I did to actually fix the first motor that we had this happen on was pull it apart, pull the end of the encoder off, and physically push the magnet down the shaft a little bit more so that it's more snug. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether the pinion gear is moving, whether the magnet's moving, whether there's something inside that's wearing. But if you have a motor that appears to be under load on a drivetrain, I haven't heard of it happening on an arm, but I've heard it happening now on multiple drivetrains. That's what's going on.
So an IndyMark person responded to that, saying that they're working on resolving the issues. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Well, I posted about a month ago. I actually posted on the FTC forum and sent an email to IndyMark saying, hey, look at this post because I'm tracking this. I'm going to follow this.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything. And then just the other day, a month later, it happened again on a new motor and it happened on one of your motors. So I posted again and then I CC'd the IndyMark guy and said, oh, well, we haven't been able to replicate it, but we're definitely looking into it. And have you got any more pictures? So I sent them some pictures of stuff. But hopefully now they're actually believing that it's happening. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's nasty. It's very unexpected, and it's insidious. Because we actually were on the verge of changing out the other motor before we realised it was the one that was going fast that was the problem, not the one that was going slow.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see it's getting some traction. Crazy Glue is your friend.
Is that you trying to make a segue?
A segue?
What's your topic?
No,
I've talked enough.
Speaking of
What's your topic,
segues,
Kevin?
speaking of segues, what's your topic?
yeah. Well, lately, me and Phil have been working with a laser that I don't know who gave it to us. One of your buddies, I guess. So a guy gave us a laser, and it's a 10-watt laser, so it's pretty nice. It's used for printing labels and stuff, so it moves really quickly. It has a really cool little stepper motor system in it where it can direct the laser really, really fast. So we didn't really want to use that, so we just kind of...
He didn't want to use
I didn't want to use it. Phil really likes that mechanism, but I didn't want to use it. I wanted to play with the 10-watt laser, so we took that off. And it took a little bit to get it running, but
By that he means we took a while to figure out all the safety interlocks and
yeah.
disable them.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's so many things on there.
It's almost like they didn't want you to
Want
take
you
it
to
apart.
They have like
on.
these huge circuit boards on there that run it, and it's just like it's ridiculous. I mean, we still were safe with it. We put it in a wooden box when we wanted to shoot because it's a CO2 laser, so you can't see the beam, and that makes it a little bit.
And what are we going to do
dangerous.
with it now, Kevin?
Well, we're going to possibly make a new thing where it'd be like a Will It Lays segment. People give us suggestions. We put stuff in front of the laser and shoot it with a laser and see what happens.
What have we shot so far?
Oh, we've actually only done ABS plastic, the 1/8" ABS plastic. It takes a couple seconds to make it through, but it's a really big beam too. We don't have anything focusing it right now.
It looks like a nice phone you got there, Phil. Be a shame if something were to happen to it.
Oh, I see. I see where you're going with
I was
that.
like, what? But yeah, so right now we are having problems with turning the laser on. Apparently the laser has a safety feature, another one. We've went through like I think 6 or 7 safety features now easily. And this one, if it dips below 15 volts,
Supply voltage.
if the supply voltage dips below 15 volts, it just shuts the laser off. Well, that's not what we want.
Well, that's happening. We're not
Yeah.
sure why.
Yeah.
We
And
think
it-
maybe because we're just turning it on hard instead
Yeah,
of like
we
bringing it up.
turn it on the
slowly.
whole way. So what we need to do is make it. We're probably going to use one of our the blank masters, and reprogram it to turn on the laser slowly, so it doesn't dip so bad.
Get rid of the dips.
Yeah. So it's yeah. Lasers are fun.
Lasers are fun. Well, I'll tell you what else is really fun. I've discovered today. I was on a little
boy.
field trip today. Oh my gosh, working for Google. I don't work for Google, but I would love to work for Google. All right, so one of our FRC alumni, Sarah, she's been programming now. She's been out of college for about 3 years now. Used to work for BlackBerry, but now she's just got a job in the Google office in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It is really cool. It's the building. The building is a renovated Nabisco factory. So it used to be. It's called Bakery Square. That's like an up and coming trendy area, and there's this big 7-story building there, and they gutted it and renovated or whatever. I don't think Google did. They started with the top 2 floors. Now they're taking over more and more floors of the building. It is the coolest work environment I've ever. Why is that? Okay, so first, it's really cool. It's really fun. It's all mostly open space with really cool little cubies, but monster monitors. Kendrick, you'd love it. Like everyone's got like 2 monitors like this big on their desk.
Boy!
But other than just the work spaces, the whole building is. Each of the sections of the building are decorated in a theme. Like one area is like bridges because it's Pittsburgh. Another area was Kennywood, and so like the rooms are named by. Here's an example. There's a stairway that goes into the Kennywood floor. Hello.
Yes, Kenrick.
Someone forgot to disable their phone.
Well, I didn't either. I'm just not the one.
That's his reminder to tell him to go home, to go to work probably. Okay, so for example, the Kennywood section, there's a stairway that goes into it, and at the top of the stairway is a roller coaster cart from Kennywood. All right, but they have like a tunnel section, and the whole like tunnels around Pittsburgh, and so it's all Pittsburgh themed. And so there's like corridors that are built like stone tunnels. It's all dark and stuff, and there's anyway, that's just a silly part. That's just a silly part. But they've got all these different rooms. They've got most of the office spaces, working spaces are all open, all right? Open spaces, areas. But there's like what normally would be conference rooms that are just there, and they're set up so that any group can go in there. So you've got like beanbag conference rooms, and you've got there's a what is it? It's a what are the why can't I think of the right word? Climbing rope things, the
rock walls,
where they have the big rope. What are they? You have to cut this out here.
No, I know what you're talking about. I think
it's like when they scramble up the ropes to get up the over the. Forget it. Cut this out. Okay, so anyway, so forget that. So anyway, so they have they have the different. Take a breath. Cut me in here. Okay, good. They have all the different areas that you can go. So they have they have public areas. They have these private rooms. They have they're all themed. They're all decorated. Like there's an underwater theme in this one of them with glass on the top and fish on the walls and stuff. But they also have like quiet rooms. It's like a little cave almost. It's just you open the door, you get in, you close it. Now you're in this totally sensory deprivation area that you can work privately without any interference. They've got they have a barber shop there. They have a masseuse section there. They have but everywhere you go, there's food everywhere. Okay, so they'll have like they've got like a little cafeteria areas, not cafeterias, just like little lunchroom, break rooms, but there's just food there. There's fruit. There's one area's got ice cream, ice creams. What do you call them? Yeah.
Ice cream,
whatever. Yeah. And another area's got sort of different country themed food, and then they have this big open restaurant there as well. Well, everything's free. So people get there, they have their breakfast there, they go to work, they have their little work groups, they go off, they have a meeting in another room, they cruise around. It's a really light, airy environment. Then you go to lunch, you go back in there, and the food is really good. It's not like so we got invited to lunch there basically. So it's not just like junk food; it's like custom salads, and they have Google chefs. And other than preparing all this food, they actually teach like cooking classes in the evening, and they do all these really crazy activities and stuff.
Sounds like a really good place to work.
I mean, and everyone's working on their big screens, and they go and socialize over here, and they have a maker space there, so it's like a mini version of this with 3D printer machines and electronics. Not for any of the Google projects, just if people want to use it.
That sounds really cool.
It's just like anything to keep your brain excited and entertained and thinking about creating stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Keeping people inspired.
Yeah, and so they're building, they're expanding to the building next door, and they're putting in workways and all sort of stuff. So
are there any gray rooms, or were any rooms like gray?
Gray?
Like a normal office space, gray with gray cubicles.
No, nothing.
They were all colorful.
And all the cubies are like the octagonal things. They're not like blip 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 cubicles. They're like workspaces. And where Sarah works, she's like in one little section off to the side where there's like 6 or 7 people working in it, and they've all got the workspaces that can be stand-up desks or scoot-down desks with the big multi-screens and, doing all their work and stuff, and it's sort of decorated in some crazy theme. There's different sections. Apparently they prank each other. So someone will go out of town, come back, and the whole cubicle will be like a haunted house, something like that. It's pretty cool. But I mean, it felt like being in California. It felt like what you imagine Apple or Facebook is, but it was here in Pittsburgh. So that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and she explained the whole interview process. I wanted to know how she actually moved there. And initially you do several phone interviews with general recruiters, and then if they like you, then you'll do some sort of webinar kind of interviews where they'll ask you a question and you have to like write some code on the fly, and they'll watch you while you're doing it. And then when they finally want you to really come in and talk to a couple of people, they'll bring you in and they'll have you writing stuff on the whiteboard and designing stuff on the fly and answering technical questions. And it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Really great environment. So of course I want to work there, but I can't.
Yeah, and you're ours.
But it was pretty neat. Anyway, too much time.
I think we're probably about out of time.
So I guess it's time to go. So goodbye from me. Goodbye from these guys.
Bye.
See ya.
See you next time. TechKnow Tuesday.